If the food system stopped tomorrow, most people wouldn't starve because they can't hunt. They'd starve because they don't know how to grow the few crops that actually matter. A garden can look productive and still be almost useless in a real crisis. A few tomatoes, some herbs, a handful of lettuce. Lovely in normal life, but if the shop stopped, deliveries stopped, and you had to start producing your own food from your own land, patio, allotment, or back garden, those crops alone are not keeping you alive. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 crops that actually make sense in a survival garden. Not because they're trendy, not because they look good online, but because together they solve 5 real problems: calories, protein, food that stores, fresh nutrients, and a backup crop that keeps coming back when everything else fails. Welcome back to Charlie Survival. Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed if you want calm, practical UK-focused preparedness and survival without the bunk of fantasy. And leave a comment below. If you could only plant one survival crop this year, what would it be? I think most people will choose the first one, but the final one is the one most overlooked. I'm not pretending 5 crops in a small garden suddenly makes you self-sufficient. They don't. But if I had to start from scratch today and build a garden that could become genuinely useful in a food disruption, these are the 5 crops I'd start with. And at the end, I'll tell you the big mistake that could make even the first crop almost useless. 1. Potatoes, your fuel. That's why the first crop I'll plant is potatoes. Potatoes are not glamorous, but they are one of the most practical food crops you can grow. Think of them as the fuel tank of your survival garden. They give you substance, they turn into real meals, and they can be grown in the ground, raised beds, or large containers if the space is limited. In a serious disruption, you're not trying to impress anyone, you're trying to produce food that makes a meaningful difference. A handful of radishes might lift morale. A pile of potato changes dinner. But the deeper point is this: potatoes force you to think in calories, not just vegetables. A survival garden is not judged by how lush it looks. It's judged by whether it can help carry you through a hard season. But calories alone are not enough. If potatoes are the fuel tank, the second crop helps build the engine. 2. Beans, protein you can store. That crop is beans, and when I say beans, I'm thinking especially about the varieties you can grow, mature, dry, and store, because beans are not just a side vegetable. In a survival garden, they are a protein and a storage crop. You can eat some fresh, but the real long-term value comes from when you let them dry and keep them for later. That gives you food that can sit on a shelf rather than needing to be eaten straight away. Beans also make efficient use of space. Climbing beans grow upwards on sticks, canes, a fence, or a rough homemade frame. That matters in a smaller UK garden because you're turning height into food. So now you have calories from potatoes and protein and storage from beans. But there's still a problem. What food keeps for months without relying on a fridge or freezer? That brings us to crop number 3. 3. Pumpkins and squash, food that lasts. That is pumpkins and winter squash. This is bulk foods that store. You plant it, give it space, let it run, and if you choose the right variety and cure it properly, it can sit for months. No fridge, no freezer, no electricity required. A good squash is almost like having a cupboard on a vine. It grows during the proactive months, then becomes stored food for colder, leaner parts of the year. A real food system is not just about what you can eat in August, it's about what still exists in November, December, and January. Squash can bulk out soups, stews, curries, and simple one-pot meals. It pairs beautifully with potatoes and beans, and when you have food in storage that came from your own ground, you've created a small buffer between yourself and a fragile system. And while we're on that point, if you're trying to build a resilient home in a calm, practical way, I'm constantly adding and updating my Charlie Survival Amazon kit list with new gear and recommendations I try and test. That's linked in the description. I've also got my free blackout checklist linked in the pinned comments. It's a simple place to start if you want to make your home more capable. And if you do want to go deeper than individual videos like this, my course, the UK Crisis Readiness System, gives you the full UK-specific step-by-step survival plan for building household resilience. There are now over 60 active members inside, and it's helping people turn scattered worry into a clearer, calmer plan they can actually follow. Because calories, protein, and stored food are powerful, but if that is all you're growing, your system is still missing something vital. You need fresh, ongoing nutrients. 4. Hardy greens, the crop that keeps giving. For the UK, kale is the obvious example. It's productive, tough, and incredibly useful. You take what you need and the plant keeps giving. That makes it feel less like a one-off crop and more like a living pantry. Greens add freshness, they bring nutrients, they stop your diet becoming nothing but dense staples. In an emergency, calories come first. I'd still rather have potatoes than kale. But over time, your body needs more than bulk. You need food that helps you keep functioning week after week. That is why hardy greens belong in this system. They do not store like squash, they do not give calories like potatoes, but remove them entirely and the whole garden becomes far poorer. And that brings us to the final crop, the one most people ignore, but I think of it as borrowed insurance. 5. Jerusalem artichokes, your backup food. Every resilient system needs a backup, not something perfect, something stubborn. A crop that keeps returning, a crop that once established can be difficult to get rid of. That crop is Jerusalem artichokes. You plant them once and they can return year after year. They grow tall, they produce edible tubers underground, and they are known for being vigorous. Sometimes more vigorous than people want. But in survival terms, that stubbornness is useful. I see Jerusalem artichokes as a borrowed emergency ration. Not the crop I'd base everything around, not necessarily your first meal, but a backup patch that quietly exists in the background. If other crops fail, if a bed performs badly, if your potatoes underdeliver, you still have something else in the system. They can spread, so plant them where you're happy for them to stay and learn how your body handles them before you ever had to rely on them. That is the whole point of starting now. You do not want your first attempt at growing, storing, cooking, or digesting a crop to happen during the crisis you were supposedly preparing for. Practice is preparedness. The simple survival garden framework. So let's pull this together. If I had to start a survival garden with just 5 categories of crops, I'd want potatoes for calories, beans for protein and storage, pumpkins or squash for food that lasts, hardy greens for ongoing freshness and nutrients, Jerusalem artichokes as a stubborn backup crop. That gives you a basic framework: fuel, protein, storage, freshness, insurance. But here's the big mistake that could make all of this almost useless: growing them like a hobbyist while imagining they'll save you like a survivalist. One potato bag is not a potato system. 3 bean plants are not a protein plan. 1 pumpkin on the patio is not winter food security. There is nothing wrong with starting small. In fact, you should. But be honest about what you're building. The first year is about layering. The second year is about improving. Over time, you understand your soil, pests, space, timing, and what actually performs where you live. That is how resilience is built, not by panic buying seeds after the shelves are empty. Not by watching one video and assuming you solved food security, but by beginning now while the stakes are low. Because the people who cope best in hard times are usually not the ones who scramble hardest at the last minute. They are the ones who quietly built capability before they needed it. So, which of these 5 plants would you plant first? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're already grown any of them or your own crop, tell me what has worked well for you. I'd love to read them. Make sure you subscribe to Charlie Survival to join the community. If you want the easiest next step after watching this video, grab my free blackout checklist from the pinned comments. Then, if you want a complete UK-specific preparedness plan you can follow step by step, take a look at the UK Crisis Readiness System. It brings the whole philosophy together into one organised system: food, water, blackouts, home strategy, medical basics, movement, financial resilience, and how to improve it without feeling overwhelmed. And I'll also leave the Charlie Survival Amazon kit list below for those who are looking for practical gear resources. Because whether it's food in the ground, water in the cupboard, or a plan in your head, the goal is the same: to become calmer, more capable, and harder to shake when normal life gets disrupted. Now, I recommend watching this video next on screen about how to have the unfair advantage in a blackout. Click it and I'll see you over there.